Welcome to this section. We're going to talk about who's responsible for your cloud security. Why is it something to talk about? Well, yeah, we'll get to the shared part, of course. But basically the thing is that a lot of customers think that if they use the cloud, and when I say cloud is public or private or any other size or form that you can think of, they are protected by the providers or by the platform, which is not true. And it's fine that it's not true, and we've been saying this for a long time. The problem it brings is that a lot of customers are being hacked. And this session is to tell you about customers who have been hacked, have been breached. This is a very cool session, I think, because it has real stories that were collected by our response team. Do you know the incident response team of Check Point? So every now and then a customer calls our incident response team. Usually it's not a Check Point customer though. And they ask for our help. This is what this team is doing. And we had a session and we learned about those customers. So I'm going to share it with you. If you guys have any questions during the session, we're very small. It's like a family occasion now. So if you have anything, please feel free. Yeah, it's my pleasure. That's why I'm here. We can keep our presentation or we can do whatever. I can dance and sing. I don't know, whatever you guys want. So I'll start with a true story coming from the incident response team. It's a large retailer in the US. So this large retailer was launching a digital advertising campaign. Everybody does that, and they were using Amazon. And so they were using the scalability options of Amazon. Anybody doesn't know what they are, the auto-scaling? So you launch one machine, and based on load, they will grow. So this company, they started seeing the environment grows and grows, and they were happy. The advertisement campaign is amazing, right? Then they started thinking, wait, 250 servers? Something is wrong here. And they started looking into that, and guess what? Boom, cryptocurrency on all machines. That's why they grew up. The more they needed, the more they had. So that's not really funny, but it happened. The funny thing, or actually that's not funny either, that's like a $500,000 loss with compute power running, not doing what it should. And they were happy. They thought the campaign was right, but then when they looked on the numbers, boom. That's a true story. That's a story that came to the incident response team and enabled us to learn what's happening out there. We're saying that shared responsibility is not enough. We're saying that you need to be responsible for the data on your clouds, fine. But when you see this story, that's, okay. There's like a story attached to it. So we'll get back to that later on. Let's continue. There's some more stories coming up. But we need to start somewhere. And this is something that I've been telling for 2 years already by now. The cloud is eating the world. And I'm sure you believe me by now. But just reiterating the message, 80% of all organizations are going to have some type of cloud. Growth is going to be immense, of course, and you can look on the numbers. And as for new technology, just so you don't think that we're ignoring it, serverless and containers, it's billions and billions of dollars. And of course, you understand by now the benefits of going into the cloud. But also, companies use cloud diversity. What does it mean? They're using not just one provider, but a multiple of providers. So I've been around the world traveling and supporting customers going into the cloud journey. It's always not just one platform. It's always Amazon and Azure, Alibaba, and Google Cloud. It's always something, and there's some customers taking it one step further. They say, we want to be in all. What do you mean all? Which one? No, you don't understand. We want to be in all. So make whatever you need, but we need to be in all cloud providers. So that's also something that happens. And something that is shared to everything and something that is actually linking this session, because otherwise there's no need for us for this session, is that everybody, a lot of them are very concerned about how do I secure? Everybody's moving to the cloud. Everybody's talking about the cloud. The cloud is everywhere. It makes sense. I want to be there, but I'm concerned. How secure can I get? And so the concern is not just because people are very smart and understand that this could be risky, but also because every day on the news there's like a new message about another company that got breached, or another hack that took place, or the risks and hazards of the cloud. Anybody doesn't hear me, I can switch to the microphone, but if my my voice is loud enough, it's okay? Please be honest. Okay, cool. And so, like I said, there's so many stories out there. There's so many experiences, so many who got burned going into the cloud. And so when this slide was prepared, it was pretty up to date. But last week, I don't know if you've heard, Tesla got breached as well. Did you hear that? Did you know what happened there? This was on the news, so I'm not telling anything new. But someone got access to Kubernetes administrative web UI of Tesla. And from there, he got access to their Amazon account, entire account. And they were able to see sensitive, unpublic data, private data of Tesla. Do you think they cared about this? No. No, they don't. Why not? Because they were doing cryptocurrency. That was even better. So yes, they were able to gain full access to Tesla's Amazon account, full access, but they were not looking for the private info. Maybe they did, maybe they took, but it wasn't the main thing. The main thing was, once again, to be able to create a pool of miners on top of the Kubernetes, and it was running forever. It was discovered by Redlock. That's the name of a researchers. They are white hat hackers. So they found this breach. And then they found it was Tesla's, and of course, they called them and say, hey, you've got a problem. Tesla wasn't even aware of that. So just so you don't think that this session is about a single customer, a single use case, and if you ask me, my personal thinking is that what you see on the news is nothing, just a glimpse of what is really happening. The data breaches, why are they exposed? Why are they on the news? Do you know? Those companies are obligated to put that out and to say, oh, we got breached. They are obligated by law, by the stock exchange. They have to do it. But there's so many things you don't even hear. So what I'm trying to say is this is a big trouble. And I'm sure some of you might know, some of you not yet. What is the problem? Why is it happening? What is the main thing? The main thing is that we not Check Point, but we, the customers, trying to apply security controls that is belonging to the legacy world into the cloud. And this doesn't really work. It doesn't work because the cloud doesn't have static workloads like in legacy. There's a manually intensive in the past in the legacy, but in the cloud, it's not manually. It's automatically elastic and efficient and everything. Another problem is DevOps. Have you heard the name DevOps? Obviously, right? They don't know security. Sometimes you would say probably they don't care about security. And another problem, security doesn't know about the cloud or DevOps. So I'm not saying it's going to be there forever. What I'm saying is there's a giant leap. All the world is moving to the cloud. But changing the organization, changing the daily operation, changing the way that we think takes time. This gap is causing what you see here. That's my belief. So who's responsible for the cloud security? Once again, this question. And the answer is actually yes, cloud is a shared responsibility. You've probably heard that here or anywhere else because everybody's talking about it. The thing is that the cloud providers, they say we control and we are responsible and we take full responsibility for security, anything off the cloud, which means anything that is making the cloud, like the infrastructure, the physical locations, the regions. We are responsible for that. But you are responsible for the rest. You are responsible, let me see if that works, for the compute. Sorry, that they are responsible for the servers themselves, but you are responsible for the operating system. You are responsible for the network and firewall configs, for example, and some others, of course, your data and your IAM. So that's not a secret anymore. It wasn't a secret to begin with, but it's not something that the cloud providers really say out loud. And this is where most of the customers, they tend to think that, okay, so the cloud provider will protect me. I'm using Amazon, Amazon will protect me. And actually, Amazon has some controls given to you as a customer to control your environment. So although Amazon is only responsible and they take full responsibility for this part, they give you some basic tools to control and have some kind of security on your part, which is great, and they're usually free. Actually, Amazon is not the only ones, right? Azure has the same, Google Cloud, and even private cloud providers have that. So you might be able to utilize security groups on top of NSX. You'll be able to utilize contracts on top of ACI, and you could be using some rules on top of OpenStack. Those are the same thing. It's access list-based controls. What is wrong with that? What's not enough with that? So what's not enough about that is that those controls have no real threat prevention in real time. It's just a basic firewalling access list control. The second thing is about unified management. If we're saying, and we know it, and I see it in the field, that a lot of customers are using multiple providers, multiple environments, then how do you control all of them from one place? If you're using Amazon and Azure and Google Cloud, and you're using the native security by each, then you need to log into each one of them to control your rules. What if you need some interconnectivity between the clouds? You need to set the rules in each one of them. What about visibility? So you need to gain access to your logs. You need to see the logs on one side and then see the logs on the other side. There's no single unified central location you can see the logs in. There's no identity-based authentication for applications. It's really basic. No URL filtering usually, although they do present some WAF capabilities, but very basic if you ask me. But again, you should check it yourself. And of course, no threat extraction or zero-day sandboxing. So that's what the cloud providers' native security controls are lacking. And of course, this might expose you to some lateral movements, and we'll see some stories of customers, and you'll get exactly why I'm saying this. All of this is a blood. We say, in Israel, we say that each time you get a scar, you learn it, and then you remember that, next time you'll be more careful. So all those were written by scars, right? Abuse of cloud services, API hacking, and etc. It's all based on true stories. So let's take now the time and talk about the latest breaches. Actually, when I say latest, it's not really the latest, because even although just probably a month or two passed since we wrote this, there's only, like I said, there's the Tesla case, for example, last week. We didn't have time to update it in our presentations, but still latest that we are aware and we documented and present. So the first one we already talked about is the American retailer. Actually, what was happening there is that the web admin console was exposed of the environment. There was no firewall or intrusion prevention, which allows the attackers to gain access and then put the miners on. How do you mitigate that? What do we recommend, or what is recommended usually to make it less easy for the attackers to gain access? Of course, you should use the native cloud controls. Why? I said they're not enough. Why would you use them? Yeah? So it's a good answer. Usually, it makes sense to have both, and makes it even harder for the attackers to gain access. So have this protection as well as a higher protection. The second thing, like using access list on your network, sometimes you want the infrastructure to block the regular basic attacks and take off the load from your more advanced security controls, right? Of course, it's recommended to segment your cloud. So although it's a cloud, it is still recommended to use segmentation, some type of segmentation. Some customers do network segmentation, basic. Some do micro-segmentation, because now with some cloud providers, with some solutions, you can even create some micro-segmentation between two machines, even if they are on the same subnet. Okay? And of course, apply ATP, Advanced Threat Prevention, in your environment. So then you'd be able to identify access to and from the environment into a suspicious or identified malicious locations. Second story is about the European infrastructure, critical infrastructure. They have been hacked with a ransomware, and it was happening through an open RDP. They had a RDP server in the environment. I don't know, not smartly enough, the password was let me in 123. And so this is really easy. If your RDP is open and you can start using some, checking some basic passwords, right? Very basic dictionary attack, then you can gain access to the environment. And that's what happened there. So the basic recommendation is, of course, use stronger passwords. This doesn't make sense. So password is not everything, but you should start somewhere. Let me in 123 is not even an option. The second, of course, always segment your network. So if someone even gains access to your network into your server, then he will not be able to laterally move from that server on. Because what happened, by the way, in that attack was the attacker were able to get into this machine and then move from that machine inside the cloud freely, and contaminate other computers as well. So that's easy. So segment, and then of course apply advanced threat prevention like before, and prevent lateral threats. How do you prevent lateral threats? We'll see that soon. Third customer, financial corporation in North America, once again. This time it was an SQL injection. The interesting part is that once they gained access to the cloud environment, they had full access. They moved from cloud into the corporate. It's like, ooh. So that's the sound it made me do, like, ugh. So yeah, they were able to attack the cloud environment, but that wasn't enough. They were able to also gain access into the corporate network from the cloud, because obviously they had VPN, and not obviously, so obviously the VPN was open, so they were able to do that. What do you do? How do you protect? Of course, you need the native controls once again. Segment your network, that's no news. Advanced threat prevention, but also, and this is very important, the fact that you have your cloud provider environment connected to your corporate, you should be suspicious to anything that is in there. Although it's yours, it doesn't mean that nobody from the internet can gain access. So you should be very, very suspicious about any traffic going from one environment to the other. It's almost the same thing, and I hope that you're already doing that, of using your remote offices. It's the same thing. You don't trust them blindly, because you never know who's in that remote office connecting his computer to the network, and now he can propagate to the office, into the corporate. It's the same thing. You should be even extra suspicious because the cloud is more tricky, as people do not know it yet as a physical environment. So a lot of configuration errors, a lot of situations where human error created an open port or an open bucket on S3. That's common. So the question comes, those were real customers, those were real environments, those were experiences that we collected. There's so many others. We just brought 3 into this session. But the question that comes up, okay, how do I avoid it? How do I make it, how do I not get into this situation where I need to give answers to my management? The answer, hopefully, is by using CloudGuard. So this is the product that I'm presenting to you. This is formally known as VSEC, but basically what it means is that we implement checkpoint protection, and when I say protection, is all gateway features, all the blades that you can do on a physical appliance, you can also do on the cloud environments. And when I say cloud environments, you can see the growing list of environments that we support. So some new names that you can see: Oracle Cloud, Azure Stack is a hybrid solution, the VMware on AWS solution as well, and some more. Basically, what we're bringing into the mix is that we sit on top of the native cloud vendor controls, and we will add this functionality to the basic security. Once again, we recommend you to use the basic controls to do some basic and first grade protections on your environment, but definitely do not think this is enough. And we recommend you to use next generation and VPN that has deeper inspection, right? Has application and data security, forensics, ATP, like we mentioned. So that's basic. It's not even a big story anymore, I think. What we bring, what's our mission and the things that we do that others sometimes cannot, and especially not the native controls, is centralized management. When we say centralized management, it is really unified and centralized management. We have R80.10 management. You can place it anywhere. It could be on one of your cloud vendors' environments, or you could be on your corporate environment. But the thing is that it controls everything from one place. So I can show it to you later if you like, offline maybe. But one management, you can control all of your environments, Azure, AWS, Google Cloud, NS6, ACI, anything that was on the list within the same rule. So you can mix and match, and you can have one rule to say all the web servers that I have on Amazon can have access to the DB server on Azure because it makes sense for you from, I don't know, technology perspective. And it will be one rule, and the logs will be collected to one place. So you will open the log, and you will see the logs coming from the gateways on Azure, gateways on Amazon, and you will be able to understand exactly what's happening. The second thing is about advanced threat prevention. Now, there is nothing new here, because Check Point has advanced threat prevention, Sandbox, and everything. SandBlast, sorry. This is no news. The news is that you should know that you can use any of our blades, and I mean any of our blades, on any of our platforms that we support. Cloud diversity, you saw that, so I'm moving on. DevOps ready. Why do we say DevOps ready? What's ready about this? Anyone? So DevOps ready is when we talk about some automation and orchestration capabilities. So integrating with our APIs and integrating with some automation tools like Ansible, Terraform, and any other that you can think of. And also using the cloud native automation like CloudFormation, for example, on Amazon, or the solution templates on Azure, or the VRO or VRA or NS6, we can integrate with any automation out there. And DevOps that are responsible for provisioning environments, for example, can click a button and make sure that the firewall gets provisioned, but also the firewall rules gets provisioned as well. That's easy as 1, 2, 3. And adaptive and automatic. Adaptive and automatic is our controller. The one thing that is really new about CloudGuard is our controller, formerly known as vSec controller. You implement it on top of your management server, and then you integrate it. You create a linkage, like SIG actually, between the management server and between your platform. So you actually create a SIG, kind of SIG, between your management and your Amazon, between your management and your Azure, and between your management and your vCenter. What does it allow you? It allows you to create objects, not to create objects, but use objects from those platforms directly on your policy. The great thing about it is that if something changes on the cloud side, let's say you had a web server on Amazon, it's on the policy, and now the IP has changed because someone on Amazon, the sysadmin, has changed its location. Now the IP is different. Usually you would submit a ticket to firewall guys and say, hi, I need you to update the image and the object. Not anymore. This object is constantly tracked by the management server because it's dynamic. And if something changes, and something I need name, IP, anything that is related to this object, the firewall will be automatically updated within 30 seconds by default. You can make it shorter even, or more. The thing about what we're presenting is that you can now control everything from one management. So you can have your Azure environment, and you can have your on-premise data center or your Amazon. That's just an example, controlled by one unified management, and it doesn't matter where it's located. So wrapping up, and again, we'll have some time for question and answers. Yes, almost 5 minutes. Cloud is eating the world, of course. Bad guys everywhere, you know that. Controls are good, right? But it's not enough. It's just like access lists. It's great, but it's not enough. We should use them, but you should also have some other things. And you should own your own security. Don't think that someone else is responsible for it. Don't think that someone else will fix your problems. Don't wait till you get breached. So, of course, you can get burned when it's cloudy. Protect yourself. Actually, during the CPX, we have 3 sessions. First session was today by Itai. I don't know if you attended, but was at 11 a.m. today. The second is about this session. And there's another session I'm giving tomorrow. This session is about the architecture. So it's taking those stories and those threats, I guess, and transforming them into say, okay, here's what Check Point recommends. Here's how your architecture should look like. Here's how, on one hand, you support the agility of your DevOps or your application developers on one hand, but on the other hand, you keep yourself safe and you keep yourself with visibility. So I recommend you to come tomorrow for the session. Also, if you're interested to hear more about CloudGuard, there's the keynote. Yes, you can get burned. So that was today. You can participate in the hands-on labs. It's just down the corner. It's really nice. You can have all Azure, AWS, ACI, and NSX, and you can test it. It's a self-paced hands-on lab, so you can do it yourself. Just sit there, and you'll have all the information and environment to test with. There's the innovation labs, which I invite you to go to. And of course, you can visit us at the expo hall. So there's the technology rooms. You can be involved and ask questions. So that's it from that perspective. And for this presentation, that's the end. But if you got a question, that's a good time now. No? Really? Someone, yeah. Yeah. The product has changed its pricing recently. You're paying now for a per core. So if you're implementing a firewall on top of a public cloud, for example, then you would pay for the number of cores that are attached to that machine. And there's actually 2 ways of licensing. One is the pay-as-you-go, and the other one is BYOL. Pay-as-you-go means that you're actually launching a machine that has an unlimited license, but you're already paying for the usage to the cloud provider, Amazon, Azure, and they will pay us on the back, okay? The other option is doing BYOL, which is the old way, but you can buy a pool of licenses. We actually published a central license utility, which you put on your management server, and then you can start launching environments wherever they are. Once they hook up to the management, they just pool their license. Yes, yes. And it's in the old way where you buy it from a reseller and then you have it in your using center. It's the regular way. Anyone else? Other questions?
How complex are the problems that led to these breaches? For example,
not really complex.
On Amazon, there is a limit that someone can set on the billing. Once you cross a certain billing threshold, don't allow any losses.
Exactly. They could have avoided it. Yeah, very primitive to leave RDP open with a default password, right? None of it is complicated. But this is exactly the problem. Because a lot of things are happening. This is what we see. A lot of hacks and threats are happening in the cloud because people are not aware. So it's lack of knowledge, I guess, lack of experience. Anyone else? Yeah.
What are the security metrics which we generate so that we can be shared with the customers of a cloud provider? One is a cloud provider and we want to basically share the security and put all the infrastructure or the 360 degree of security and reporting which from the security standpoint which can share with the customer that okay, this brought value to you in terms of implementing this.
So I'm not sure I understand.
It will be measurement of how many threats it prevented.
For the customer, it's the regular firewall matrix, right? You can have the smart log and smart event, and you can use anything that you have on your own premise. It's no difference. So there's nothing specific to the cloud. The cloud is just another environment that is not on your own premise. Okay? Good. Feel free to approach me offline, or I'll be probably in the hands-on lab, so you could come there. Other than that, thank you so much for today, and enjoy.